All right, everyone. Welcome back to Rocky Top Review on Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3, and Mix TV. I'm Steve Hardline, getting ready for the Tennessee-Kentucky kickoff at noon today at Neyland Stadium, and joined by Stephen Shelton. And Shelton, we have a special guest with us this week. Is that right?
Yeah, I thought we fired him last week, but here he is. I know what North Cleveland feels like now. Every week, he just keeps coming back.
Listen, I'm like a bad pair of underwear. You just can't get it out of your drawer, man. I just keep coming back. Steve, I want to compliment you on how nice your chairs are in here.
Yeah.
Okay? I just can't believe how smart and how good looking these chairs are. I mean, you made a comment last week that this chair was smarter and better looking than me, and I'm impressed with the chairs, no doubt.
Yeah, Austin's got a shot of that. Shelton, anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, I agree with what he just said. The chairs are smarter than he is.
Well, guys, I guess we're going to begin going back. UT with a loss in Athens, Georgia, Shelton.
I'm not sure you want to start with me. First half, they played well enough to stay in the game. Second half, you saw dominance by Georgia. Tennessee did nothing. They made no adjustments. Offensive line was horrendous. The defense was on the field way too long. I thought the defense played actually pretty well. Garantano just shows you that he's not an SEC caliber quarterback. And so, it just goes back to the same old of Tennessee football being very vanilla and not trusting your quarterback enough. And when you get down 2 scores with them, the game's over with because they don't have the firepower to come back. So it was just a terrible day in Athens.
Jason?
Well, at halftime the score was 21-17 Tennessee, but that was 100% fool's gold. It started with a defensive touchdown that we didn't cause. It was a bad snap that went into the end zone, and we just happened to get there first, and we didn't even really get there first. And then the next 2 touchdowns were beautiful throws by Garantano to what looks to be an emerging future NFL wide receiver at Josh Palmer.
Well, first of all, they were terrible throws that Palmer made great catches on. Let's not say beautiful throws.
Well, Garantano threw it where only his guy could catch it, and that's what you do in that situation.
This is horrendous already.
Palmer made 2 fantastic catches, no doubt, but those are low percentage throws. You're going to throw incompletions on those more than not, and so they connected on 2 of those. Fantastic. There's your 21 points, but it was fool's gold because you're not going to recreate those plays over and over and over again. And Georgia's defense was just smothering all day long. One of the bigger problems I saw, Shelton. He talked about how bad the offensive line played, but the wide receivers got no separation all day long. And when that defensive line and linebackers are coming as fast as they were, you've got to get open as a wide receiver, and they just weren't. The secondary for Georgia was just smothering us all day long. Garantano had nowhere to go all day long.
Well, and the secondary was smothering our wide receivers because offensively, Jason and I have never played a snap of college football. Ever.
No, really?
But let me say this. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that when you line your running back up beside your quarterback on his right, to hand the ball off, he's got to go left.
Oh, yeah.
So when you see Georgia's defense look at where the running back was lining up against Garantano and adjusting, they were going left or going right based on where he was lined up at, knowing he had to come across their body. I don't know why in the world you don't call a pitch or something to the opposite side. We ran right into that front 7 for Georgia every single play in the second half. And -1 yards is just unacceptable. I'm sorry. It's just a terrible job by Chaney.
So I was going to say, who are you laying the blame on?
Oh, it's Chaney. At some point, you've got to recognize the fact that Georgia's defense is lining up based on where your running back was lining up at. That's all they were doing. And so you can't see that. Listen, that's just unacceptable not to be able to see that they know you've got to run across the body of your quarterback to hand it off. He has to come this way or this way, and Georgia's defense was lining up the opposite direction.
Stephen, I got to disagree with you. It is not about the X's and O's. It is about the Jimmies and Joes. And that offensive line just didn't get it done. They got whipped all day long.
Well, I don't disagree with that. But, again, when your defense already knows which way you're running the football, I don't care what Joes or Jimmies you got up front. It's not going to matter.
Well, our Jimmies and Joes didn't show up, so
no,
you're right. Terrible. It didn't matter. I would say this, though. Everybody wants to lay the blame on Garantano on the offensive side. And he's not Josh Dobbs. He is not a playmaker, but we know what he is.
He's not an SEC quarterback. We have no faith in him. We've not thrown the football between the hashes one time all year. We've got one of the best tight ends in the SEC, but we can't get him the football because we don't have enough confidence in our quarterback to throw it over the middle.
Who's the tight end? I didn't know we had a tight end.
Well, exactly. Thank you.
No, I just think, I mean, we know Garantano is a game manager. We know that he can't make plays. He's not a Josh Dobbs where if things break down, the play's not over. If things break down on JG, the play is over. You know, you just hope for a negative or you hope for a 0 yards play versus a negative play at that point.
So you're telling me that you think Garantano is the best option we have at quarterback?
I don't know what other options we have. I'm not at practice.
Well, we know that Stroud played decent last year. Maurer played good last year. We got a freshman they keep saying doesn't have enough reps, but yet he took 49 of 50 snaps in the scrimmage on Sunday. It's time to throw somebody else in there because answer this question for me: who has he beat?
Well, he beat Auburn a couple years ago.
Okay, great.
And listen, where we're at as a program, we're not ready to beat the Georgias and Floridas and Bamas, but we are ready to beat all the other teams in the SEC.
So let me tell you
Let
me tell you who he's beat in his career at Tennessee as a starter. He's beat UMass, Indiana State, Southern Miss, Kentucky twice once they were ranked, Charlotte, Auburn while they were ranked, UTEP, ETSU, Vandy, Missouri twice, UAB, South Carolina twice, Mississippi State, UTC, and Indiana.
Okay.
Do you not think any of the other three could beat them?
Well, sure.
Why don't we develop them that we know this guy? We've got a track record. He's been there since Johnny Majors. We've got a track record with this guy. So why don't we put somebody else behind center and see what we can do? Because the guy can't get – I mean, he can't even get out of the pocket. And this was the second-rated dual threat quarterback in the nation when we recruited him, and the guy hasn't run one time on a play that's been called for him since he's been there.
Well, like I said, we know who he is, okay? So why put him in positions? Why expect things out of him that he can't do, okay? We need to protect him with the offensive line. We need to establish a run game to protect him even more. We need to allow him to throw to open receivers. The receivers aren't getting open. Running backs can't break tackles. Okay,
you know what we can protect him most at? We could protect him most if we put him with a clipboard on the side.
Well, I'm just saying there's a lot of blame to go around, and Tennessee Nation seems to want to blame this guy, number 2, for everything. And all I'm saying is yeah, I mean, he's not an NFL quarterback. When he plays his last snap in college, that'll be his last snap. But there's a lot of blame to go around for this Georgia loss, and it doesn't all lay on JG's feet.
Oh, I'm not saying it all blame. I'm just saying he is not an SEC caliber quarterback.
All right, guys, we have to leave it there. It's Rocky Top Review presented by CHI Memorial. And let's go around the SEC. And also a noon start today. Auburn, South Carolina. These two haven't played since 2014. Oddly enough, have only played 12 times in all. Auburn 10-1-1 in the series all time. The last time South Carolina won this matchup, you ask? 1933, the year Shelton got a haircut. All right, Shelton, will begin with you.
Okay, well, thanks for that. Yeah, 33. It's going to be another year for South Carolina, I'm afraid. Although South Carolina defensively, I mean, this team's starting to play pretty well. Auburn is – I'm still not sold on Auburn. They're 2-1, but I'm just not sold on them. They've struggled to get to 2-1 against not your top caliber teams in the SEC. But Bo Nix, I mean, they were talking about benching Bo Nix in Auburn already. He's 54 of 95, 597, 4 touchdowns, one interception. Auburn's defense is allowing 421 yards a game, while South Carolina is only allowing 330. And Shi Smith, he's got 26 catches for 271.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of Auburn. Yeah, I can't peg them. South Carolina, I like Colin Hill at quarterback. He played well against us. Shi Smith is an emerging star at wide receiver. I'm actually going to take the Gamecocks in this one. Auburn may snap out of it and may run away with it, but I don't think they're any good.
Wow.
And so give me the Gamecocks.
Okay.
All right. LSU Florida has been postponed, as you probably know by now. Florida LSU postponed. 18 players tested positive for Florida, which included 15 scholarship athletes, 3 walk-ons. SEC announced on Wednesday after the Gators program placed on hold on Tuesday because of a number of positive virus cases. This is a reality where we are right now.
Yeah, and is it going to get worse? If this gets worse, then this is going to throw the whole scenario of playing an SEC championship game and fairly out the window. So I think that this is this is not the only game this week that's going to be postponed because of COVID, but hopefully they get a handle on this thing and is able to get us back to where we were the first couple of weeks.
And I think that gives us some perspective on college football. We need to be enjoying every game we get, every game, every week that gets to be played this year, because 2 months ago it wasn't going to happen. So I'm grateful for what we have.
And Vanderbilt, Missouri also postponed. Final check this segment. Ole Miss and Arkansas, they'll play. That's a 3:30 start at Reynolds Razorback Stadium in Fayetteville. Two new coaches will attempt to win their second game of the year, get their programs respectable 2-2 on the season, as Lane Kiffin will take his Rebels, Arkansas, take on Sam Pittman and the Razorbacks. Jason, we'll begin with you.
Well, this is an old school versus new school game. I love it. Little Lane Kiffin versus Big Sam Pittman down there at Arkansas. Matt Corral comes into the game, quarterback for Ole Miss, 67 for 88, 1,080 yards and 9 touchdowns. I mean, that is a Kiffin quarterback, and he's going against Felipe Franks. I think the conversation might end right there. I'm going to take Ole Miss in this one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Ole Miss comes in. They're still one of the most exciting teams in college football. I mean, they've had more eyeballs on the Auburn-Ole Miss game. I saw the ratings for that game. It's incredible. The whole nation was watching that game, and it was just like anything you can do, I can do better type of game. And so Elijah Moore comes in. That's Matt Moore's top target. He's got 31 catches in 3 games. 31 catches for 462, 1 touchdown. I like what Ole Miss is doing down there. I like the directions they're going. What they're doing on the field. We don't know what they're doing off the field, but I like the direction they're going. But I tell you, Sam Pittman has taken an Arkansas program and really resurrected it already to be kind of respectable. They're not getting blown out. They're running the football well. But you're right, it's old school versus new school. We'll have a crazy suit coming off the jetway when Ole Miss lands, and we'll have a guy that's going to be in T-shirt and shorts on the other side. So it should be exciting. But I'm taking Ole Miss in this one.
All right, we're going to take a break right here. Our first break, Rocky Top Review, is presented by CHI Memorial. CHI Memorial, with flu shots available at Memorial Convenient Care. You don't have to get out of your vehicle. They'll come to you at the Public Shopping Center, Paula Parkway in Cleveland. And we're back on Mix 104.1 Talk 101.3 and Mix TV in just a moment. All right, we are back on Rocky Top Review, presented by CHI Memorial and Memorial Convenient Care. Let's get back to the SEC. Texas A&M will take on Mississippi State in Starkville. That's a 4 o'clock Eastern start today. After an upset victory over Florida last week, Texas A&M looks to join the SEC in sinking the pirate ship of Mike Leach, who after a week 1 victory looks a little lost within the SEC, Shelton.
Oh, absolutely. I tell you, one thing that apparently doesn't go well for the SEC is, and in the SEC, is pirate ships. This guy needs to take his patch off and look at his team with both eyes, because after the first week, I mean, we're like, is this really going to work? This air raid really going to work inside the SEC? But I tell you, last week against Kentucky, 2 points. That was a safety. They looked completely lost, and Kentucky looked like they were playing a JV team. Really did.
Yeah, I don't know what to take of that. I mean, is Kentucky's defense that good? Did the Pirate just absolutely lose his way last week? All right, Shelton and I have been at odds this radio show, but I got to give you props, Stephen. You said on our very first show that Texas A&M was the second best team in the West, and I thought you were crazy. But man, I picked Florida to win the SEC, and so your pick trumped my pick last week. That's a signature win for Jimbo Fisher. This program is now on a pretty good upward trajectory. Give me Texas A&M.
Shelton, let's pause here in the games, and I know you had a comment about Bridget, who played tennis for the first time in about 5 years and blew out her Achilles.
Yeah, well, I told her that she probably, she hadn't played in a long time. I said, Bridget, it's kind of like going into training. You probably should have started with a little, table tennis, get some of that going. But I think at Bridget's, I told her, I said, Bridget, at our age, I said, you probably need to settle in maybe around pickleball. That's probably where you need to stay around the pickleball court. I said, it's a little smaller. I said, let's just stay there. But, I will give her credit. I'd already thought about what I was going to say this week. If she was still out, I was going to say, let's buy her some cows. She should be a dairyman. She milked this thing so much. But
there we go.
She's here. I mean, she's here, got her leg propped up.
She's in the office,
yeah,
huh?
Absolutely. So, thankfully, Dr. Spangler was able to put her back together again. And so, but no, hats off to Bridget. I probably would still be at the house on the couch.
Heartline, you want to take 5 minutes and tell us about how you beat her 5 years ago?
Yeah. 5 years ago. It's been a long time.
He could take her today, too.
I don't know. One time I was playing Larry Green. We We were playing at Tinsley, and he slipped on some leaves, fractured his knee, and he still won the point that he fractured his knee on. Let's get back to the games now. It's Rocky Top Review presented by CHI Memorial, Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3. Hey, we're getting ready for the Tennessee-Kentucky kickoff at noon today, right here on both of our radio stations. We're on Mix TV as well. Yeah, there it is, Tennessee-Kentucky in Knoxville today, a noon kickoff. But around the SEC we go, Texas A&M. And, well, we already did that. Let's here we go.
Turn the page,
this could be
Heartline.
the
Turn the
game
page.
of the year. Georgia and Alabama. Here's the deal, folks. A little shop talk. CBS television gets one primetime game a year. And for so many years, it was Alabama, LSU, whatever. They have picked tonight Georgia and Alabama. Georgia comes in at number 3, Alabama number 2. Now, been a lot of developments this week. Getting that, of course, biggest game in the nation. Did take a scary twist on Wednesday. Coach Nick Saban has tested positive for the coronavirus. And as we tape this on Thursday, this game is still on. Of course, we know everything's changing by the minute in this COVID world. Doesn't necessarily change anything on the field due to the fact that Steve Sarkisian, more than capable of keeping Alabama focused against his former coaching colleague, Kirby Smart. Jason, let's begin with Georgia, Alabama, 8 o'clock tonight.
Well, the way I see it is this is a game of strength on strength. It's Alabama's offense against Georgia's defense. The Georgia defense is really, really good. Some people this week have said, they're the best defense in the country. We're going to find out this week because Tennessee's offense is not Alabama's offense. Alabama comes in, Mac Jones under center. He is an SEC quarterback. Najee Harris taking the handoffs. Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, probably top 10 wide receiver picks again from Alabama. And I just don't believe that Georgia's defense, as good as they are going to hold up against Alabama's offense the way they did against Tennessee this past week. And so it really is strength on strength. This is going to be a great game, okay? So if it happens, you got to tune in.
Well, if it does, you're right. If it does happen, I agree completely that this is Georgia's defense versus Alabama's offense that was on complete display against Ole Miss last week. And but I really think this game's going to come down to one person, and that's Bennett, the quarterback for Georgia. I think that if he's able to control the football and Georgia's able to win the time of possession, because Alabama's able to strike so quickly this year, which is so much different than years past, methodically going down the field and just eating up clock. But I think if Georgia can win the time of possession battle between them and Alabama, then they win this game. But I'm afraid that Alabama just has way too much firepower offensively, and I just don't think they can get it done. So I think without Nick Saban for the first time in more than a decade, Alabama wins.
Well, and I think Stetson Bennett may be the key because he doesn't threaten the defense down the field. Now, he's a pretty good manager. He can throw it, 15 yards in, but I don't think Alabama's got to back up very far. And a Nick Saban defense that doesn't have to defend more than 15 yards, they're going to be tough to deal with. So, yeah, I'm going to take Bama as well.
Is Alabama as good as people thought they would be?
I personally think this is one of the best Alabama teams ever. Now, I know that last week you may say, well, they were terrible defensively. Listen, Lane Kiffin, when you're 3rd and 17 and you're running the football, I mean, he was calling stuff like the backyard. You can't scheme for that. And that was personal. Last time, you got to remember the last time Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban were on the field together, that they weren't on the same coaching staff. Lane Kiffin looked him in the eye and said, "You'll never beat me again." And that's when Mount Cody blocked that field goal down in Alabama against Tennessee. So, that was personal. But I still think Alabama's defense much better than they were against Ole Miss last week. But I really think this could be one of the most complete teams Alabama's ever put on the field.
Yeah, I cannot believe for a second that Alabama defense we saw last week is the real Alabama defense. Yeah. There's way too many 5-star guys running around that defense. Too many 5-star guys on the bench wanting to get in on that defense for that to be real. I think that Alabama defense will probably be top 10 in the country for sure by the end of the year. So
all right. Who have we made our picks?
Bama.
Both of you. All right. And the game that we're all looking forward to here in, we're getting ready for this in about a 90-minute period. Kentucky comes to Knoxville. 1 yard. separated these two teams 1 year ago. But after a dominating performance by Kentucky last week and a 24-2 win over Mississippi State, the Wildcats look to keep their momentum going as they visit Rocky Top. It's a noon start here on Mix 104.1 and Talk 101.3. The Buzz. Jason, let's begin with you.
Well, Kentucky comes in 1-2. They come off a win last week over Mississippi State, as we've already talked about, where they only gave up 2 points the whole game. I think that's kind of the same thing we were just talking about with Alabama and Ole Miss, just kind of a mirage. Terry Wilson is back at quarterback after being injured all of last year for the Cats. He's also their leading rusher. Asia Rose, might be their most explosive back that they have, but Terry Wilson carries it more than anyone else. Josh Ali, 18 receptions for 208. They just don't throw the ball much. This is a one-dimensional offense. Here's an analogy I heard this week, and this is pretty good. UK is to UT as UT is to Florida. Okay, anything that can go wrong for Tennessee against Florida usually does. Anything that can go wrong for Kentucky against Tennessee, that often happens. This game plays into Tennessee's hands. Jeremy Pruitt is excellent. He is at his best against one-dimensional offenses. He absolutely shreds those things. So I think it comes back to Garantano again. Can he manage the offense? Can he protect the football? Can he throw for a couple hundred yards, a touchdown? Can the offensive line do what they need to do so that we can establish the run game and dominate Kentucky's defense?
Yeah, I agree. When you look at Kentucky, they do lead the SEC in rushing yards per game with 212 yards. But Tennessee does a good job against the run. They're not as good against the pass. Terry Wilson doesn't throw the football very much. They've almost made Terry Wilson, before his injury, Jason, he was more of a passer. He gets injured. They brought him back. They had success with Lynn Bowden as quarterback, and they've almost tried to turn Terry Wilson to Lynn Bowden 2.0, and it's just not worked out very well for them. They've got to get back to throwing the football. But Tennessee's offensive line has got to play as a unit. I said earlier this year this was the best Tennessee offensive line in the history of the and that's big words, but I did say individually. These are the most talented individuals they've had as a core. They have not played as a unit. You could take 3- and 4-star guys and play as a unit and be better than what these guys have been. So Trey Smith has been okay. Cade Mays, he didn't grade out very well at all last week. And so I just think if you look at this Tennessee team, Kentucky had 6 interceptions last week. And that's 70 pass attempts by Mississippi State. They have 6 interceptions. One thing Garantano doesn't do very much is turn the ball over. If Kentucky pressures Garantano and we can't establish a run game and we're forced to throw the football, I think that plays into Kentucky's hands. I think Tennessee wins. I think it's a lot closer than people think. I think we maybe slip out of there with about a 3-point victory tonight.
Wow. All right, there it is. This week's version of Rocky Top Review on Mix 104.1. Talk 101.3, and also on Mix TV. A couple of reminders. You can download the free Mix 104.1 app. Listen to today's game on your phone, mobile device, and all that's happening on Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3, and Fiesta 99.1. Download at mymix1041.com. That is free, courtesy of CHI Memorial. CHI Memorial, Imagine Better Health. And don't forget Memorial Convenient Care Public Shopping Center, Paula Parkway. They have flu shots. You do not have to get out of your vehicle. That's flu shots at Memorial Convenient Care Public Shopping Center, Paula Parkway in Cleveland. Getting ready for Tennessee, Kentucky with the noon kickoff. Enjoy the game, everybody. We're about to send you now to the statewide stadium, the Vol Network. It's time for the Kickoff Call-In Show, Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3.